Listen carefully, because this might be the most important lesson you learn this year. In your life, you will be tempted to chase people who don't value you. You will feel the urge to beg for attention, to explain yourself, to prove your worth. But the moment you do, you hand your power away. A Stoic does not chase. A Stoic does not beg. A Stoic does not explain. A Stoic stands still, calm, unshaken, disciplined. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is a declaration: I control myself. I don't chase what is unstable. I don't explain what is obvious. I don't beg for what is temporary. Your silence forces the world to confront its own noise. Your silence exposes who respects you and who only needed your attention. Your silence reveals your strength, not because you withdraw from life, but because you refuse to waste your energy on the unworthy. So understand this: the moment you stop chasing, what is meant for you comes closer. The moment you stop begging, your value rises. The moment you stop explaining, your mind comes free. And the moment you embrace silence, you step into a power most people will never understand. This is how strong people are built, not by noise, but by silence. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize something profound. Most of the suffering they carry was never created by the world. It was created by their reactions to the world. The words people said, the disrespect they showed, the doubts they planted, none of these things had power until you gave them power. And the most dangerous thing you ever gave away was not your time, not your energy, not your love. It was your reaction. A person who can control how they react walks through life like an unclimbable mountain. He becomes unpredictable, unshakable, untouchable, because when you don't react, people lose the ability to control you. When you stay silent, they lose the ability to read you. When you refuse to explain yourself, they lose the ability to judge you. And when you stop chasing, they lose the privilege of taking you for granted. This chapter is about the kind of silence that turns a simple human being into a storm. Not the silence of fear or weakness, but the silence of mastery. The silence of someone who has burned through every illusion of ego and now stands grounded like a stone carved by centuries of wind. The silence that says, I see everything. I understand everything. I react to nothing, because the world expects you to chase. It expects you to beg. It expects you to explain. And when you don't, when you simply hold yourself with the calm strength of someone who knows their worth, the world gets uncomfortable. People begin to fear what they cannot predict. They begin to respect what they cannot manipulate. Silence forces people to confront themselves. And most people cannot stand the sound of their own truth. That is why your silence becomes your superpower. The world tests you through other people. You must understand something: the universe rarely tests you directly. It tests you through the behavior of others, through disrespect, through rejection, through unnecessary conflict, through the small moments where someone tries to provoke you just to see if they can pull you off your center. And every time you react emotionally, every time you give in to anger, every time you chase after someone who mistreats you, you fail the test. Because the real test was never about them. It was about you. It was about whether you have matured enough to realize that not every battle deserves your attention. Not every insult deserves your energy. Not every situation requires your explanation. And not every person deserves a response. Some people enter your life simply to teach you how easily you can be pulled into chaos. Some people appear just to show you how far you still have to go in mastering yourself. Some people disrespect you because they sense the weakness you hide beneath your defensiveness. You are not here to answer everyone. You are not here to explain yourself to anyone. You are here to observe, to remain composed, to rise above. Most people speak because they are empty inside. The strong remain silent because they are full. The Stoic secret: control of self is control of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But today we read these words and whisper them like ancient poetry, not realizing they are instructions for war, because life is a war against distraction, emotional reaction, ego, insecurity, and the chaos of other people. Every insult you ignore, every argument you refuse, every explanation you withhold is a small victory in this war, because you cannot control the world, but you can always control what part of yourself the world gets access to. Silence is not withdrawal. Silence is not hiding. Silence is choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. A reactive person is a slave. A silent person is a master. Why you must stop chasing. Chasing is a confession. It is a silent admission that you believe something is above you. People chase what they think they lack. People chase approval because they don't approve of themselves. People chase love because they don't believe they deserve it naturally. People chase attention because they feel invisible inside. But the moment you stop chasing, everything changes. When you stop chasing, people wonder why. When you stop begging, people rethink their value. When you stop explaining, people start to doubt their assumptions. When you stop reacting, people start respecting. Your silence forces them to face themselves. Why did he walk away? Why isn't he fighting for this? Why does he look so calm? What does he know that I don't? What they don't understand is that silence is not emptiness. It is discipline. It is maturity. It is power. The more silence you build around yourself, the more people notice the strength of your presence, and your presence becomes louder than any words you could speak. You break the cycle of disrespect by stopping your reactions. People disrespect you not because they don't see your worth, but because you keep reacting as if you have none. Every time you react emotionally, you teach people how to treat you. Every time you over-explain, you teach people that your truth needs permission. Every time you chase, you teach people that you can be summoned with crumbs. Every time you snap in anger, you teach people you can be controlled. Silence breaks the cycle. Imagine a person throwing stones at the ocean. The stones disappear beneath the waves, and the ocean remains the ocean, still, vast, untouched. Be that ocean. Let the words, the provocations, the disrespect, the noise, disappear into your depth. Your silence is not weakness, it is evidence that you understand yourself. Your lack of reaction is not fear, it is proof that you have mastered the art of inner control. You do not owe the world a version of yourself that dances on command. People respect what they cannot shake. People don't respect noise, they respect presence. People don't respect explanations, they respect standards. People don't respect emotional outbursts, they respect emotional control. A silent person with strong boundaries is the most intimidating force in the world, because silence creates space, and in that space, people project their own insecurities, fears, and assumptions. They start thinking, maybe I misjudged him. Maybe he's stronger than I thought. Maybe he knows something I don't. Maybe I shouldn't have crossed him. Silence makes them question themselves, not you, and that is the ultimate power. The first step to transformation: master your inner noise. You cannot master your outer world until you master your inner one. The person who can sit alone with their thoughts, the person who can feel anger rising but doesn't let it escape, the person who can feel the urge to explain themselves but chooses stillness, the person who wants to chase but forces themselves to walk away. That person is becoming unstoppable. Silence is not just an external strategy, it is an internal transformation. You must learn to sit in discomfort without reacting. You must learn to endure disrespect without losing dignity. You must learn to feel emotions without obeying them. This is the path of the Stoic. This is the path of the unshakable. This is the path of the person who rises above themselves. There is a moment in every strong person's life when they realize attachment is the root of most suffering. not love, not loyalty, not connection, but attachment. The silent belief that something outside yourself is responsible for your peace, your happiness, your identity, or your worth.
Stoicism teaches that the greatest prison is not made of walls, it is made of needs. The moment you need someone to validate you, respect you, stay loyal to you, or treat you a certain way, you hand them the keys to your emotional state. You give them access to your frustration, your insecurity, your self-doubt. This is why detachment is not coldness, it is not disinterest, it is not emotional numbness, it is strength. Detachment is understanding that the world moves, people change, situations shift, and your peace cannot depend on anything that can be taken away from you. To detach is to say, I can care deeply without losing myself. I can give without being drained. I can love without becoming a prisoner of my own expectations. Most people will never reach this level of emotional maturity, but if you do, you become undefeatable. Why most people suffer, they overinvest their emotions. People suffer not because life is cruel, but because they invest too much of themselves into things that were never meant to carry that weight. They pour their peace into someone's attention. They pour their confidence into someone's approval. They pour their identity into someone's affection. They pour their worth into someone's inconsistency. Then, when that person disappoints them, they collapse. Not because the other person was special, but because they gave away a part of themselves that should have never been given away. The world takes advantage of those who attach too quickly. It uses their kindness, it manipulates their emotions, it presses the right buttons to control their reactions. A person who is easily attached is easily controlled. A person who is easily controlled is easily broken. Detachment is the antidote. Detachment is freedom. Detachment is not leaving, it's stopping the leaks. There is a misunderstanding people have about detachment. They think it means walking away from everyone, shutting down emotionally, isolating oneself from the world. This is wrong. Detachment is not walking away from people. Detachment is walking away from your expectations of people. It is not coldness, it is clarity. It is not distance, it is control. It is not rejection, it is self-respect. You can still love. You can still give. You can still care. You can still connect. But you do not let these things dictate your inner state. You stop the leaks of energy, attention, worth, and peace. You stop needing people to act the way you want. You stop needing situations to unfold the way you imagine. You stop needing the world to align with your desires. When you stop needing, you become powerful. When you stop clinging, you become calm. When you stop chasing, everything that is meant for you naturally comes toward you. The Stoic truth: you cannot control others. The first law of emotional mastery is accepting that you do not control other people, not their feelings, not their choices, not their loyalty, not their respect, not their consistency, but you can control something far more important: how much of yourself you give to them. Detachment is the understanding that people will be who they are, with or without your approval. You cannot shape someone's character with your kindness. You cannot force someone's loyalty with your effort. You cannot earn someone's respect by explaining yourself. The world doesn't bend to your emotions. And the moment you realize this, you stop trying to manage the uncontrollable, and you begin focusing on the only thing that has always been yours, yourself. Detachment is the courage to accept people as they are, and the strength to walk away when they no longer align with who you are becoming. The power of walking away without drama. A weak person leaves with noise. A strong person leaves with silence. Silence is dignity. Silence is control. Silence is respect for yourself. When you walk away emotionally, you stop trying to change people. When you walk away mentally, you stop allowing their behavior to affect you. When you walk away spiritually, you stop giving them space in your mind. And eventually, you walk away physically, not out of anger, but out of clarity.
Here is a truth many people never learn. When you walk away without drama, you take your power with you. When you walk away with drama, you leave your power behind. Drama is emotional leakage. It is the desperate attempt of the ego to prove a point. It is the final cry of someone who is still attached. But quiet detachment, that is self-respect at its purest form. It says, I don't need to prove anything. I don't need to change your mind. I don't need you to understand. I don't need to react. I choose myself. That kind of discipline is rare. And because it is rare, it is respected. Detachment makes you attractive to the world. People chase what they cannot easily influence. They respect what they cannot manipulate. They admire what they cannot shake. When you become emotionally detached, three things happen instantly. People become more careful with you. Because they realize their behavior no longer controls you. You become more desirable. Because your calmness signals strength, abundance, and self-sufficiency. Your life becomes simple. Because you stop overthinking things that do not matter. People are drawn to the person who doesn't need validation. They gravitate toward the one who stays calm in chaos. They respect the one who closes the door quietly instead of slamming it. Detachment makes your presence valuable. It makes your energy rare. It makes your boundaries unbreakable. You become a person of depth, not noise. You cannot be manipulated if you are not attached. Every form of manipulation relies on one thing, your attachment. People guilt trip you because you care too much. People use silent treatment because they know you fear losing them. People lie because they think you won't walk away. People disrespect you because you react instead of detach. When you detach, the strings disappear. The game ends. The manipulation loses its oxygen. Someone cannot hold something over you that you are willing to release. Someone cannot use your fears if you've already faced them. Someone cannot control you if your peace is not for sale. Detachment makes you unpredictable, uncontrollable, free. And the person who cannot be controlled is the person who becomes legendary in a world full of emotional puppets. There is no power greater than a person who has learned to control what happens inside them. Not money, not physical strength, not intelligence, not status. Because without emotional control, all of these collapse the moment life applies pressure. A person who cannot control their emotions is a danger to themselves. They overreact, overthink, over-explain, over-apologize, overstress, and overextend. They confuse temporary feelings with permanent truth. They think emotions are commands instead of visitors. And nothing destroys a person faster than letting temporary emotions build permanent damage. Stoicism teaches one core law of personal power. If you cannot control your emotions, someone else will. Life will control you. People will control you. Your fear will control you. Your anger will control you. Your insecurity will control you. But the moment you begin mastering your emotional world, something shifts. You stop being a victim of circumstances and you become the architect of your reality. You start acting instead of reacting. You start thinking instead of panicking. You start choosing instead of being dragged by impulses. You start living instead of surviving. Emotional control is not about becoming cold, it's about becoming clear. The world tries to break you through your emotions. Life rarely breaks you with events, it breaks you with your own reactions. A disrespectful comment isn't powerful by itself. Your emotional attachment to validation gives it power. Rejection doesn't hurt because someone walked away. It hurts because your ego was not prepared to stay standing alone. Failure doesn't kill your confidence. Your inner voice does when it tells you you're not enough. People don't destroy your peace. Your mind does by replaying their actions on a loop. The world is not attacking you. Your emotions are attacking you on the world's behalf, And until you understand that, you will always be enslaved by external situations. Emotional control is the ability to let the world do what it does, while you remain rooted in who you choose to be. The Stoic law: feel everything, react to nothing. You are human. You will feel anger, fear, frustration, disappointment, envy, sadness. These emotions are natural. They are signals, not chains. The Stoic is not someone who feels nothing. The Stoic is someone who refuses to be owned by what they feel. He lets emotions pass through him like wind passing through a forest, present, noticeable, but never destructive. Most people make one fatal mistake: they believe emotions are instructions. I feel angry, so I must lash out. I feel insecure, so I must chase validation. I feel jealous, so I must react. I feel hurt, so I must seek an explanation. No. A mature mind separates the feeling from the action. You can feel anger without responding in anger. You can feel fear without acting out of fear. You can feel doubt while still choosing discipline. You can feel love without losing self-respect. To feel is human. To control your reaction is divine strength. Your emotions are guides, not rulers. Every time you feel a strong emotion, you are receiving information about yourself. Anger tells you where your boundaries are. Fear tells you where your growth lies. Sadness tells you what you value. Jealousy tells you what you think you lack. Anxiety tells you what you don't trust yet. Frustration tells you where you are trying to force control. But emotions are messages, not masters. The weak drown in them. The wise decode them. Emotional control means taking the message without letting the emotion drive your behavior. It means learning to observe yourself from a distance, like a witness watching a storm from behind a glass window. The storm rages, but the house stands still. You must become that house. Why emotional control makes you untouchable. A person who has mastered their emotions becomes dangerous in the best possible way. Why? Because no one can provoke them. No one can manipulate them. No one can guilt-trip them. No one can insult them into reacting. No one can use silent treatment against them. No one can shake their inner world. People become predictable when they are emotional. They can be provoked. They can be baited. They can be read. They can be steered. But someone with emotional control, that person becomes unreadable, unshakable, and uncontrollable. They don't respond to disrespect. They simply elevate above it. They don't react to chaos. They let chaos exhaust itself. They don't argue. Their presence ends the argument. People fear the person whose emotions are in their control, because that person cannot be controlled by anyone else. Control your breath, and you control everything. The first step of emotional mastery is not mental, it is physical. Your breath controls your nervous system. Your nervous system controls your emotions. Your emotions control your decisions. If you control your breathing, you control everything downstream. When you feel anger rising, breathe. When anxiety tightens your chest, breathe. When someone disrespects you, breathe. When the world tests your patience, breathe. The breath is the doorway between chaos and clarity. It is the pause that prevents destruction. It is the shield that protects your dignity. A single deep breath has saved more reputations than 1,000 apologies. A single moment of calm has prevented more battles than 1,000 explanations. Emotional control begins with presence. Presence begins with breath. Stop over-explaining. It is an emotional leak. One of the biggest signs of emotional weakness is the urge to over-explain, over-explaining your choices, over-explaining your boundaries, over-explaining your silence, over-explaining your absence, over-explaining your worth. Over-explaining is emotional leakage. It is a fear-driven attempt to be understood, validated, and accepted. But here is the truth: strong people don't explain. Strong people state their truth once, and then they let actions do the rest. Explaining is often a disguised form of begging. It reveals insecurity. It reveals fear of judgment. It reveals dependence on approval. Silence reveals strength. Conviction reveals clarity. Boundaries reveal self-love. Your life does not need a translator. Your decisions do not need a witness. The only explanation you owe is to yourself. There is a moment when every person meets life at its harshest point. A moment where something breaks inside, a promise fails, a relationship ends, a dream collapses, a friend betrays, a plan dissolves, a path disappears, and for a brief second you feel as if your entire world has been swallowed by darkness. Most people never recover from this moment. They stop trying, they stop believing, they stop hoping, they stop fighting. But a select few, the rare ones, the resilient ones, rise again, not because life was gentle with them, but because they were willing to become tougher than anything life placed in their path. Resilience is not luck. Resilience is not talent. Resilience is not inherited. Resilience is built, forged through pain, shaped through adversity, sharpened through struggle, and strengthened through endurance. Stoicism teaches one simple truth: the obstacle is not in the way. The obstacle is the way. Meaning, everything you face is either going to destroy you or transform you, and that choice belongs to you. The world does not respect the fragile life, does not reward the soft-hearted victim who collapses at the first sign of discomfort. The world respects those who endure, those who stand, those who remain calm in their storm. Weakness invites disrespect. Strength earns respect. Resilience commands admiration. People can sense it, the difference between someone who has been tested by life and someone who has been protected from it. There is a depth, a calmness, a grounded presence in the person who has suffered and survived. Their silence carries experience, their eyes carry stories, their posture carries dignity. Resilience is not loud, it is quiet. Quiet confidence, quiet power, quiet mastery over pain. You do not need to prove yourself when pain has already carved you into someone unrecognizable from your past. Pain, ice, the trainer you never asked for but always needed. Pain is life's most honest teacher. It teaches without mercy. It exposes without permission. It transforms without warning. Pain shows you who you really are. Pain reveals your weaknesses. Pain strips you of illusions. Pain forces you to confront your limits, but after it breaks you, it begins to rebuild you. Smarter, stronger, calmer, wiser. You cannot become resilient without pain. You cannot gain inner strength without inner storms. You cannot become unshakable without being shaken. You cannot become durable without being damaged. The strongest people you know did not become strong by accident. They became strong because they faced pain that almost destroyed them, but didn't. Pressure is a privilege. Diamonds are created under pressure. Steel is hardened through fire. Mountains are shaped by force, and human beings, the extraordinary ones, are forged the same way. Pressure is not your enemy. It is your training ground. When everything feels overwhelming, when the weight feels unbearable, when it feels like life is crushing you, understand something. Pressure is shaping you into someone you have never been before. Pressure creates discipline. Pressure builds character. Pressure sharpens focus. Pressure eliminates weakness. Pressure reveals your real capacity. Most people avoid pressure because they fear failure. But the Stoic embraces pressure because they understand pressure is the price of growth. The more pressure you can endure, the more unstoppable you become. Resilience says a decision to stand up one more time. There will be moments where life pushes you so hard you fall to your knees, moments where your strength feels drained, your hope feels thin, and your purpose feels lost. But resilience is not measured by how many times you avoid falling. Resilience is measured by how many times you rise after falling. You rise without excuses. You rise without needing applause. You rise without waiting for conditions to improve. You rise because staying down would insult the person you are capable of becoming. Every time you get back up, you tell the universe, "You will not break me, you will only shape me," and the universe listens. You must learn to suffer without losing yourself. Stoic strength is not about avoiding suffering. It's about suffering well. Anyone can stay calm when life is easy. Anyone can stay positive when everything is going right. Anyone can look strong when nothing is challenging them. But who are you when things get dark? Who are you when you feel alone? Who are you when your plans collapse? Who are you when your heart breaks? Who are you when the world stops making sense? This is where resilience begins, in the darkness no one sees, in the battles no one knows about, in the moments you fight yourself, in the nights you question everything but still wake up and move forward. Suffering is not punishment. Suffering is refinement. It is life carving away everything that is not truly you. You have survived 100% of your darkest days. Look back on your life. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every loss, every failure, every disappointment, every breakdown. You survived all of it, even the moments you thought you wouldn't, even the nights that felt endless, even the times your heart couldn't understand why things were happening. You survived, and survival is proof of strength, not weakness. Many people underestimate how much they have already overcome. They forget the storms they walked through, the battles they endured, the pain they carried in silence. Resilience is not something you start building today. It is something you have been building your entire life, and now you must begin using it consciously. There is a point in your journey where you finally understand silence is not emptiness. Silence is influence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The one who speaks the most is rarely the one who controls the direction. The one who reacts instantly is rarely the one who wins. Power has always belonged to the person who can stay calm, centered, and composed, especially when the world is trying to pull them into chaos. Silence is the sign of a person who knows themselves. It is the sign of someone who is not rushed by emotion, not controlled by ego, and not threatened by noise. A silent mind is a weapon. A silent presence is a statement. A silent response is a boundary. And when silence becomes your default state, the world begins to adjust to you. Silence is the language of the mature. When you are young, you think speaking makes you strong. You think proving yourself makes you respected. You think arguing makes you smart. You think explaining makes you understood. But maturity teaches you a different truth. Strong people do not waste their breath. Wise people do not fight unnecessary battles. Secure people do not seek validation. Peaceful people do not respond to chaos. Silence is the language of the experienced. It is the response of someone who has been through enough storms to know what truly deserves their energy. You stop arguing with disrespect. You stop negotiating with inconsistency. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop giving reactions to things beneath your character. This transformation is not loud, it is silent. And because it is silent, it is powerful. The Stoic understanding, every word has a cost. Stoics believe that every reaction, every word, every emotional outburst has a price. And most people pay far more than they should. They pay with time. They pay with energy. They pay with dignity. They pay with self-respect. When you speak impulsively, you pay. When you explain too much, you pay. When you react emotionally, you pay. When you argue with fools, you pay. When you respond to disrespect, you pay. When you give attention to the unworthy, you pay. What do you gain in return? Nothing but stress, frustration, and regret. Silence forces you to conserve your energy, to protect your peace, to defend your dignity, to elevate your presence. Silence is self-respect disguised as calmness. Powerful people speak less because they are in control. Observe anyone who truly commands respect. Leaders, thinkers, warriors, masters of their craft. They all share one trait: they speak less than others. Why? Because they do not chase attention, they attract it. They do not rush to react, they observe. They do not fear silence, they use it. They do not reveal everything, they reveal only what matters. People who speak too much reveal too much, their insecurities, their fears, their intentions, their weaknesses. But silence? Silence reveals nothing, and that makes you powerful. When you become silent, people begin to wonder, what are they thinking? What do they know that I don't? What are they planning? Why can't I read them? Mystery is influence. Predictability is weakness. Silence makes you unpredictable. Not everyone deserves a reaction. One of the greatest breakthroughs you will ever have in life is realizing that not everything requires your reaction. Not every comment, not every disrespect, not every insult, not every rumor, not every misunderstanding, not every piece of drama. Most things that try to provoke you do not deserve you. When someone tries to pull you into emotional chaos, silence wins. When someone disrespects you to get a reaction, silence wins. When someone lies about you, silence wins. When someone tests your patience, silence wins. When someone tries to manipulate you, silence wins. Silence is not submission, it is strategic withdrawal. It is refusing to engage at a level beneath you. It is choosing self-control over ego. It is preserving your peace instead of proving your point. The truth is simple. Your reaction is often the reward they want. Silence denies them that reward. Silence makes your presence heavy. Have you ever seen someone enter a room and the atmosphere shifts? Not because they are loud, not because they are flashy, not because they demand attention, but because their presence carries weight. This weight is not accidental. It is built through discipline, emotional control, and silence. A silent person becomes a mirror. People see themselves around you. They become more aware of their own words, their own actions, their own behavior. Your silence makes them reflect. Your silence makes them respectful. Your silence makes them cautious. People are more careful with you when they cannot predict your reactions. People behave better around you when they know you do not tolerate nonsense. People value you more when you do not give yourself easily. Silence creates gravity, a pull that draws respect without demanding it. The one who speaks less thinks more. The world is full of people who speak without thinking. Silence reverses that. It forces you to think before you act, reflect before you speak, observe before you assume. This is why silent people are often calmer, wiser, sharper, more disciplined, more self-aware, more respected. Silence creates space, space to analyze, space to understand, space to choose the best response instead of the fastest one. Most people respond quickly because they fear the discomfort of silence. But mastery means learning to sit in that discomfort, to let it sharpen your clarity, to let it reveal the truth, to let it expose intentions. The person who can sit silently with their thoughts becomes unstoppable.